some of us don't realize that there was a monumental election on Monday, and that was the election in Rwanda, which is known as the Singapore of Africa. And there were three candidates for president. It was the first time they had the presidential election and the parliamentary election at the same time. And Paul Tambyah won 99.15% of the vote. No polarization there at all. Okay? So I think the very fact that you have elections and you organize the elections according to your rules doesn't mean that everybody has a voice. And I think one of the things that, again, coming from the Singapore Democratic Party, and I kind of expected to say this, is that basically most of our fundamental democratic rights have been taken away. I mean, and in some ways, really interesting ways, the English language has been butchered in the process. So if you were a primary school kid, you insisted to your teacher that an assembly could constitute of one person, you'd end up going to the principal. Okay? But that, unfortunately, is the way the laws of Singapore are structured. And it's gone from bad to worse. Now we have the infamous POCMA laws, which we were told were designed to protect us from religious extremists burning down villages. Instead of which they end up getting us on labor statistics, or under which specific provision of the law a protester is not allowed to send a letter to the Prime Minister. So basically, that is the background for this idea of why I think the NCMP scheme is like a Panadol. There's this meme that goes around in some of the online social media where and I don't think it originated in Singapore, where they said a parliamentary concession is something like when somebody breaks your leg and offers you a wheelchair, then you're expected to feel grateful for that. I think the fundamental thing is to get the guy to stop breaking your legs. You know? And so that's where the Panadol analogy came in. See, I think the NCMP scheme on the surface is a good thing because it gives you the opportunity to get in Parliament, make your voice heard. But it is, in a way, a distraction from the reality, which is that basic fundamental rights have been taken away. And the reason why you can't get in is because the playing field is not level to begin with. So the analogy I use in the book is that if you have a raging bacterial infection and they give you a Panadol, it's not going to cure you. It may make you feel a little bit better for a while. And in fact, the reality is when my patients have raging bacterial infections and the nurse says don't give them a Panadol, otherwise you won't know how high their fever goes. I said, look, I know they have an infection, just give them a Panadol, make them feel a little bit better. But you have to deal with the underlying problem. If they've got an abscess or a bag of pus, you've got to drain it. If they need an antibiotic, give them an antibiotic. So I think this is where we come from. The point is that, Panadol is nice, helpful, makes you feel better, but it doesn't address the underlying problem. And I think the reality is that sooner or later, Singaporeans are going to wake up. See? The reason why the opposition couldn't get in the 90s, many years ago, was because there was a monopoly on media and information. But even to this day, we've just heard how hard it was to get a working media person just to take part in a book, which is as fair and even balanced as it could possibly be. And the very fact that the NLB had to cancel the event that was supposed to be held tomorrow is a very sad state of affairs. So that's kind of where I come from. I think it will change because you cannot roll back the tide. And in the interim, we have these intermediate steps. But like Manwai, I hope he's the last NCMP.